Do you believe that someone deemed invisible can, in just a matter of hours, turn the tables and become the protagonist of their own story? Get ready because what you're about to discover will make you question everything you thought you knew about success, power, and appearance. Many people believe revenge requires noise, anger, or open confrontation. But what if I told you there's something far more powerful than shouting or slamming your fist on the table? Something that allows you to turn your back on pride and still walk away victorious? And that's exactly what happened to a cleaning lady, an ordinary woman, or rather, someone who only asterisk seemed asterisk ordinary, who was disrespected and treated as though she'd never achieved anything. What no one could have imagined was that beneath that simple uniform was a powerful leader, ready to teach an unforgettable lesson to everyone who doubted her. In just 24 hours, she went from the shadows to the spotlight, revealing that true strength doesn't lie in the clothes we wear, but in the silent, precise actions we take when faced with injustice. If you've ever felt disrespected because of your appearance, or you're tired of being judged only by what's on the surface, stay with me until the end. Because this woman's journey isn't just a story of overcoming, it's a silent revolution that might just teach you how to flip the script in your own life. After all, who says revenge can't be served with elegance, strategy, and a quiet smile? That's exactly what we're about to discover together. She walked in as if carrying the weight of the world, but with eyes that had clearly seen many battles. Letícia, wearing a worn-out blouse and simple sandals, looked out of place amid the excessive shine of that five-star hotel. And it was precisely her appearance that triggered side eyes and sarcastic smirks. The manager, dressed in a suit worth more than a minimum wage salary, didn't even bother to hide his contempt. Without even asking what she wanted, he assumed this humble woman was in the wrong place. It's curious how some stories repeat themselves silently every day. Maybe you've gone through something similar in a store, a job interview, or even at a restaurant. Judging someone by their appearance is one of the cruelest forms of social blindness. And the worst part, many who judge don't even realize they're doing it. If you've ever felt invisible just for being poorly dressed, know this, you're not alone. Clothes may cover the body, but they'll never reveal the greatness of a soul. Letícia, however, didn't react with anger. She kept calm, like someone who understands that life unfolds in stages. She knew every action has its time for a response. And that's when true strength reveals itself in strategic silence. Instead of arguing with the manager, she gave a subtle smile. That smile, my friend, was the beginning of a lesson that man would never forget. Because some stories aren't written with words, they're written with actions. And speaking of actions, just wait to see what she did next. Few people knew, but behind that calm demeanor was a life marked by pain, resilience, and purpose. Letícia wasn't born into wealth. She was raised in an orphanage, forgotten by many, remembered by almost no one, while other children received silence. But it was in that silence that she learned to hear what others couldn't, her own intuition. And with it, she built one of the greatest transformation stories in the country. Over time, Letícia graduated studying with borrowed books and working 3 jobs. She didn't inherit anything. She built everything. Today, as CEO of a multinational company, she funds social projects that feed, educate, and empower thousands of people. Why? Because she remembers every night she went to bed hungry, and she vowed no one else should go through the same. That's what I call wealth with purpose something. Many hoarders of money will never understand. And the most beautiful part? She never cared about being in the spotlight. Whenever possible, she preferred to act behind the scenes and let her actions speak for her. While some live to flaunt, Letícia lives to create impact. As the old saying goes, those who show off the most often do the least. Her stories didn't make magazine covers, but they changed real lives. And the hotel manager had no idea that the woman he looked down on was the very founder of the company he dreamed of landing as a client. But before discovering that, he made another mistake. The most critical moment came when the manager, impatient, pointed to the back of the hotel and snapped, "The cleaning area is that way." Letícia didn't even flinch. She could have exploded, shouted, or exposed everything right then and there, but she chose a different path. She knew that not every response needs to be loud, some require strategy, and sometimes the best way to win is to let the other person dig their own hole. Ever seen someone think they're in control right before they lose everything? Yeah, this was one of those stories. Instead of clapping back, Letícia quietly took out her phone and called her assistant. She asked that all the executives from her company be at the hotel the next morning. And it wasn't just for any meeting. It was for a major announcement, the kind that changes deals and directions. Have you noticed how well-used silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words? Letícia learned that early, and it's a lesson you can apply too. Not every provocation deserves an immediate response. In fact, that scene makes us reflect. How many times do we rush to judge? How many opportunities have we missed by not knowing who stood before us? If Letícia had reacted with wounded pride, maybe the lesson wouldn't have been so impactful. But she chose something deeper, to show with class what arrogance would never allow the other person to see. And just like in many stories of redemption, she began to turn the game around without ever raising her voice. But the real plot twist was still on its way. By early morning, the hotel lobby had become a parade of elegance. Well-dressed men and women, tailored suits and confident postures, entered one by one, all heading to meet Letícia. The manager, watching everything from the reception, began to frown. The movement didn't fit the usual pattern. It was as if something big was about to happen, and he, poor guy, had no idea he was at the center of it all. These were the first pieces of one of the most impressive stories of silent justice. One of the executives approached and asked about the presidential suite in the name of the company's founder. Still confused, the manager asked for the name. When he heard Letícia, he went pale. His words from the previous day echoed like a slap to his own pride. It was too late. The multi-million-dollar contract with the hotel chain, which had been in negotiation for months, was cancelled right then and there, with one dry, elegant sentence. If you don't respect the essence, you don't deserve the partnership. That wasn't revenge. It was a statement. Letícia appeared minutes later, dressed just like the day before. Nothing had changed in her appearance, but everything had changed in perception. Her silence, followed by a strategic action, showed that dignity doesn't depend on status. As the saying goes, you don't measure character by a bank account. And many stories that inspire the world begin exactly like this. From a moment of humiliation that turned into strength, from rejection that became a stage. But there were more eyes watching than she had imagined. Amid all the murmurs, a soft voice asked for permission to speak. It was a maid, modest, in a simple uniform and teary eyes. With courage, she stepped forward and shared what she had seen the day before. She said that Letícia, unlike many guests who ignored her, had greeted her, asked her name, and complimented her work. A small gesture, but a powerful one. Because in times of rush and arrogance, kindness has become a form of resistance. And some stories are written precisely in those details. The maid's testimony hit like a lightning bolt on a clear day. No one saw it coming. The room fell silent. The worker, who had always lived behind the scenes of others' grandeur, now had a rare and necessary voice. And here's the twist. It was that invisible woman who firmly and humanely exposed the difference between status and worth. As they say behind the scenes of life, the way someone treats those who can offer them nothing reveals everything. And there the truth came from where no one expected. Letícia, emotional, simply nodded. She knew that maid had just touched a crucial point. The manager's prejudice was already ugly, but now it was exposed. And scandals, my friend, spread fast. A few videos shared on social media were enough for the news to explode. And when a story goes viral, reputation doesn't ask permission to walk out the front door. But the real impact was just beginning. The public's reaction was relentless. Within hours, social media was flooded with messages of outrage, screenshots of the story, and viral videos of the maid. The hotel, once proud of its impeccable reputation, saw its name become synonymous with discrimination. The million-dollar contract? Gone. The credibility? Shaken. And the manager? Immediately removed. Some stories are harsh but necessary, and this one became a public lesson on the cost of judging without knowing. Letícia, with the poise of someone who knows pain, didn't settle for punishment. Instead of demanding mass firings, she proposed something far more transformative: mandatory training in empathy, respect, and inclusion for all hotel staff. Because educating is always more powerful than punishing. And if you want a practical example, think of it this way. Before criticizing someone for not smiling, ask if they had a good day. Small actions shift perceptions, and slowly they change the world. Of course, there was resistance. Changing behavior takes more than courses and team-building games. It takes deconstruction. But Letícia knew that planting awareness in hardened soil was the first step. The most profound stories aren't written through reactions alone, but through rebuilding. And even after everything, she still believed the manager deserved a second chance. But that chance would have to come with something essential: sincere remorse. The manager, once full of superiority, now stood before the harshest mirror of all: his own conscience. Ashamed, he sought Letícia. Without a rehearsed speech, he apologized, his eyes lowered, voice shaky. He didn't justify or try to soften the mistake. He simply owned it. And that, surprisingly, was already a beginning. Many stories of redemption begin the moment pride gives way to humility, and that vulnerability is what caught Leticia's attention. She listened calmly, like someone who had already forgiven before the apology, but she didn't absolve him. On the contrary, she invited him to something that required much more than a simple, "I'm sorry," to visit the social projects she funded. Places where children learn without shoes, where mothers support families on minimum wages, and where respect is more valuable than any expensive suit. It was there, among sincere hugs and harsh realities, that he began to see the world beyond the hotel lobby. Being around those people changed him. He saw in their eyes a dignity he had never learned to recognize. He realized that empathy isn't taught through PowerPoint slides, but through real connection. And if you want to start seeing beyond appearances, here's a simple piece of advice: volunteer. Even if only for an hour a week. Some stories can only be understood when lived firsthand. And now, he was beginning to write his own, with more truth. Over time, that former manager became a regular presence in the social project. From someone who once looked down on a woman because of her appearance, he became someone who carried bags, served meals, and listened to stories few ever valued. And it changed, not just as a professional, but as a human. Arrogance gave way to empathy, judgment to that's when Letícia, always observant, saw something in him. Something he might not even have known he had, the potential to start over. So she did the unexpected. She invited him to lead a new inclusion program in her company, not out of pity, but on merit. Because she knew that someone who has made a deep mistake and truly learned can teach from the heart. That choice wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Because deep down, Letícia believed in justice that restores, not just punishes. And some stories, to be complete, must include redemption. A mistake, when handled with courage, can become a tool for transformation. This new program wasn't symbolic. It was real, practical, with goals and direct impact on communities. Now, with a new perspective, he gave talks, led workshops, and listened attentively to the stories of those who fight every day to be seen. And that gave him purpose. Because when we understand someone else's worth, life stops being about position and starts being about contribution. That's when stories gain weight, meaning, and legacy. But there was still one last lesson to be shared. In the end, Letícia gathered everyone: hotel staff, executives, volunteers, and members of the communities served. There was no stage, no fanfare, just a circle of people willing to listen. And there, with the same serene smile she had when she first walked into the hotel, she said a sentence that would echo forever. Asterisk. Being humble was never a sign of weakness, but judging others by what they wear will always be a sign of inner frailty. Asterisk. A simple sentence, but one filled with the strength of 1,000 lived stories. Those words echoed not only in that room, but across social media, newspapers, and more importantly, in people's hearts. Because true transformation doesn't happen in headlines, but in the core of those who reflect and change their ways. How many times have you looked down on someone without even realizing it? How many opportunities for connection, partnership, or friendship have been lost because of someone's clothes or accent? These are the reflections that change paths, and they also change the endings of stories. Letícia knew she couldn't change the entire world all at once. But she also understood that every change begins with a small decision. Treating others with dignity, even when no one is watching. And that's the beauty of it all. Sometimes, the ones who seem the least important are the ones carrying the most powerful lessons. After all, some of the greatest stories that inspire the world don't begin in palaces, but in the simplicity of a just heart. Now that you've heard this real and powerful story, tell me, how many times have you judged or been judged based on appearances? How many opportunities might you have missed or made others miss because you didn't look beyond the surface? The truth is, the world is full of invisible Letícias, ready to surprise, teach, and transform. The question is, are you willing to learn from them, or will you keep turning a blind eye? Maybe it's time to rethink your actions, make room to listen more, observe better, and above all act with empathy. Because it doesn't matter if you're at the top or just starting out. Respect and humanity never go out of style. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever lived or witnessed something like this? How did you react? Your story might inspire others here too. And if you want to keep diving into stories that not only move you, but also teach and spark real change, subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and join us on this journey. The next turning point might come from someone you least expect, including you.